I used to have a group chat with 9 women in it. 9. It was called the Hens because it started after someone's hen do in 2014 and nobody ever changed the name. And for years that chat was alive. Plans, jokes, photos, the occasional mild drama about someone's mother-in-law. Now, the chat's essentially dead. Someone posts a birthday message every few months, someone else hearts it, and that's it. 9 women, and I would genuinely call maybe 3 of them if I was having a bad day. And one of those 3 I haven't actually spoken to in 6 weeks. Now, I don't think that's a tragedy. I think it's an edit. But I do think it's worth talking about because the loneliness of midlife is something almost every woman I know has felt and almost no one talks about. So let's talk about it. I'm Laura, this is the Riviera Menopause podcast, and today we are talking about something that has nothing to do with hormones and everything to do with menopause: friendship. Or more specifically, the quiet disappearance of your social circle in your 40s and 50s, why it happens, why it hurts, and what to do about it. There's a growing body of research on what's being called the friendship recession, and while it affects everyone, it hits women in midlife particularly hard, and here's why. First, logistics. Your 40s and 50s are, for most women, the busiest decade of their lives. You're managing career, potentially caring for aging parents, raising children or teenagers, maintaining a relationship, and trying to keep yourself from falling apart in the process. Friendship requires time and energy. Those 2 things you have least of right now. The second is hormonal changes, and this is the bit nobody really talks about. Declining progesterone and estrogen affect your social energy. Your capacity for small talk decreases. Your tolerance for surface level connection drops. Things that used to feel fun, the big dinner, the crowded party, the weekend away with 12 people, can start to feel exhausting rather than energizing. It's not that you've become antisocial, it's that your nervous system is under more strain and socializing costs you emotionally a lot more than it used to. And third, this is the most important one, you're changing. Menopause is an identity shift. Your priorities are shifting. Your tolerance for crap is dropping. Things that you used to bond over, the schoolgate chat, the work gossip, the shared complaints about being busy, they might not feel nourishing to you anymore. You want something deeper, but the friendships you have may not be built for deeper. And that gap between what you need and what your current friendships offer creates a quiet, creeping loneliness that's really hard to name and harder to fix. Some friendships end in midlife. Not with a fight, not with a betrayal, just a slow mutual drift that neither person addresses because addressing it feels too grown up and too painful, and actually quite final. The friend who only wants the old version of you, the one who says you've changed as an accusation rather than an observation. You have changed. That's not a failing, that is growth. And if a friendship can't accommodate your growth, it may not be a friendship that serves you anymore. The friend you've been maintaining out of obligation, the one where you dread the notification but respond anyway because you've known each other for 20 years and it feels wrong to stop. Longevity is not the same as compatibility. Some relationships are right for a season and that season has ended. Letting go of those is not unkind, it's honest. The friend who's competitive, who responds to your good news with something slightly deflating, who makes you feel like you need to shrink to keep the peace. Menopause has a way of stripping away your ability to tolerate this. Your emotional buffer is thinner, and the people who are always slightly draining become impossible to be around. Here's what I want to say to all of this. You do not owe anyone a friendship that costs more than it gives. You are allowed to edit your circle, not cruelly, not dramatically, but honestly. And the grief that comes with it, because there is grief, it's real and valid and worth feeling rather than avoiding. And people often avoid it, and they avoid the loneliness because it feels hard to say. Admitting you're lonely feels shameful, especially for women who appear to have full lives. You have a partner, a job, children, a schedule that's packed from morning to night. How can you possibly be lonely? You're surrounded by people all day. But there is a particular kind of loneliness that has nothing to do with being alone. It's the loneliness of not being known, of having plenty of people around you, but nobody who truly sees you. Nobody who asks how you really are and waits for the real answer. Nobody who knows that you've been struggling and doesn't need you to perform being fine. That loneliness is epidemic among the women in midlife, and the health consequences are not trivial. Research consistently shows that social isolation is associated with an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, depression, and early mortality. One widely cited finding puts the health risk of loneliness on a par with smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's not a metaphor for dramatic effect, that is epidemiology. And here's the cruel catch-22. When you're lonely, the last thing you feel like doing is reaching out. Loneliness breeds withdrawal. Withdrawal breeds more loneliness. Your nervous system, already under strain from menopause, interprets social situations as more threatening than they are. The energy required to initiate contact feels prohibitive, and so you stay home, and the gap gets wider, and you tell yourself, I'm fine on my own. But you're not fine. You're adapting to a deficit, and adapting to a deficit is not the same as thriving. So this is not a soft, optional, nice-to-have conversation. Your friendships are a health issue. Your social connections are as important as your diet and your exercise, and if they've thinned out, that's something worth addressing, not out of sentimentality, out of necessity. So how do you build the kind of friendships that actually sustain you? Here's what I found works, both from research and from my own very imperfect experience. First, go smaller, not bigger. You do not need more friends, you need 2 or 3 people who know you, who you can be honest with, who don't need you to perform. The research on friendship and well-being consistently points to depth over breadth. A handful of close reciprocal relationships is worth more than 100 acquaintances. Second, lower the bar for connection. We think friendship requires big plans, dinner reservations, weekends away, coordinated diaries. No wonder nobody has the bloody time. Friendships that sustain women in midlife are usually built on small, regular, low-effort contact. A walk, a voice note, a text that says thinking of you and expects nothing back. 15 minutes of real conversation is worth more than 3 hours of performative socialising. Third, be the one who reaches out. I know, this is a hard one, because reaching out feels vulnerable. It feels like you're admitting you need someone, and you do. So do they. Almost every woman in midlife is waiting for someone else to reach out first. Be the one. The worst that happens is a polite decline. The best that happens is the reconnection you've both been quietly wanting. And fourth, find your people. If your existing circle has thinned and you're not finding what you need there, look for new connections. A walking group, a book club, a strength training class, an online community, anywhere that women your age are gathering and being honest with each other. The quality of friendship you're looking for exists. You might just need to look in new places for it. And I want to say something about the specific kind of friendship that matters most in menopause. It's not the friend who distracts you from what you're going through. It's the friend who sits with you in it. The one who says, I don't know what to say, but I'm here. The one who doesn't need you to perform being fine. The one who can hold space for the fact that you're simultaneously a competent, impressive woman and a woman who's struggling. Both things at the same time. That kind of friendship is rare, and when you find it, protect it like your health depends on it, because it really, really does. Your one thing this week. Text one person, someone you've been meaning to reach out to, and say, are you free for a walk or a coffee this week? One text, one invitation, no agenda beyond connection. That's the start. It's not a grand gesture, it's a small act. Connection is rebuilt on small acts, not on weekend retreats. One text. Send it today. This episode is the one that I almost didn't record because talking about loneliness feels exposing. It feels like admitting something you're not supposed to admit when you're a grown woman with a full life. But I think the conversations we're most reluctant to have are usually the ones that matter the most. And if one woman listens to this and sends one text and has one walk and feels slightly less alone by the end of the week, then this episode did its job. Next week, we're shifting gears. We're talking about energy, not blood sugar this time. We've covered that early on. This time, we're going deeper. The difference between being tired and being depleted, why most menopausal women are running on empty, and the radical, slightly uncomfortable idea that the solution might involve saying no to some of the things you're currently saying yes to. If this episode made you think of someone you've lost touch with, send it to them. It might be the conversation starter neither of you knew how to begin. I'm Laura, this is the Riviera Menopause, and do you want to go for a walk? Might be the most important sentence a woman over 40 can say to another woman over 40. But for now, that's me signing off with love from Monaco.